Hey guys, just want to make this video real quick to talk about some kind of or just the steps that go into making in the game development world. It's not as intimidating as a lot of people think. A lot of people hear that game development doesn't make or it's a lot harder to get into, and there's not as much money in it as typical computer science, but um, with some work, it's really not too bad to get into. I've been a professional game developer for about a year now, so um, I've been freelancing, and now I'm currently looking at companies to go work for now. And I'm just going to kind of discuss a couple of the steps, or the main steps to get into game development. And so the first one I would define to be learning Java or C Sharp. Java and C Sharp are very similar. C Sharp's actually Microsoft's kind of version of Java. So if you learn Java or you know any Java, then you can very easily pick up C Sharp in at least a week, I'd say, or I mean at most a week. Um, and if you don't know Java or C Sharp yet, then I'd almost recommend learning Java and then learning the slight differences between Java and C Sharp. There's all places over the internet where you can learn Java. You don't need to be, you don't need to go to college for that. You just learn Java. You don't need to know. There's plenty of places on the internet. There's even like 6-hour videos on YouTube that just walk you all the way through the creation or everything you need to know to get into Java. First thing you need to know one of those before you kind of download Unity. There is visual learning stuff you can do in Unity, but it is best to go into it knowing that. Now, if you're a little too young and you don't really know, if you want to start getting into Java or some kind of programming language, there is other options like BuildBox. I think BuildBox has like BuildBox 3 right now, and there's actually even it's kind of a visual scripting engine. So I'd recommend that if you don't want to learn programming right now. But if you're getting into it and you're getting serious about training yourself to get into a game development career, you got to know Java or C Sharp beforehand. Second step is to download and just start messing around with Unity. Initially, I'd say the second step would be to watch a bunch of stuff on Unity. It doesn't really have to be a ton, just to understand kind of how game objects work and how components control game objects, and um, get into start messing around with that stuff. Don't plan on putting out a project in a month and then having it make you money or anything. Just kind of go into it, make a game that, or just come up with some kind of simple game idea, then just try to make it happen. And if you fail, then that's fine. You'll learn something as you fail. But yeah, just keep going in and messing around with it. And then step number 3, I say, when you can start putting these small game ideas together. And a good starter game example would be Flappy Bird. That's one everyone uses, or Doodle Jump, or any of these very simple game ideas. But once you can successfully put that together, then you'll still be running into stuff that you kind of hear through videos and tutorials, but you don't quite understand. I know. I guess even before this, I recommend making a list of things that you hear that you don't know about. So let's say you're watching a video on attaching a component to a game object or something, and the person mentions like a coroutine or something that if there's a word that you hear that you don't recognize, just make a list, start that list, write it down, and then come back to it later. And then just as you make your way through that list, start learning what all those things are, because there's going to be quite a few things, but overall each they're not too complicated to get a hold of after and learn. So that's kind of step number 2. And once you kind of start running into stuff, or stop running into stuff, and you really understand most things you hear, and people, you can easily watch a pretty long tutorial and they won't say anything that doesn't make any sense to you. You understand everything they say, and you can pretty confidently put a simple game together. Then that's when I recommend you start to learn about code architecture. And the reason this comes forth is because it's almost kind of good to run into a couple mistakes through these first three steps, so that you learn why certain bits of code architecture are important. So there's a bunch of places you can read about code architecture. I got a book right here, Game Programming Patterns, great book about architecture. There's also tons of YouTube videos, tons of stuff on the internet to read about. Just research SOLID principles, SOLID. It's an acronym. And so those 4 steps, and once you get into that code architecture, that's kind of a thing that continues with you throughout your career. And mastering that code architecture is pretty tough. But a solid understanding of the SOLID principles, I guess. And get into that stuff. And once you kind of get an understanding of the solid principles, that's where you can kind of start going out into the kind of workforce and start getting a pretty confident or getting job offers and stuff. So that's going to be a good place to be. It does take a little while to get there and to fully understand why each of the solid principles is so important. And but these 4 steps will get you to that point. Obviously, they're very broad steps, but from people coming in and wanting to learn, what is the way to get into Unity in game development. I hope this video helped. Even if some of it didn't make sense, or if some of it obviously seemed to be a bit too broad to be considered one step, but it really isn't as intimidating as it looks. The big thing is to just get started and start messing around with stuff. It took me too long to do this, and I regretted waiting. I thought that game development was something that I'd learned through college, and it would just make sense out of it. But I had to go through and learn it all on my own. But I'm very happy I did. It's a lot of fun. If you like the design of games, if you like putting them together, if you like playing them and you enjoy programming, there's a really good chance that you'd really enjoy game development. There's a lot of really cool people, and there's a lot of really good people that teach this stuff, and really good community around it where people get together and kind of help each other learn this stuff. So hopefully this video helped. Hopefully you can kind of take something away from this. If you guys have any questions too, leave them in the comments. I'll definitely be sure to answer any questions you guys have. Yeah, thanks for watching.